Celebrating 25 years of joy. Good afternoon to you. Welcome to the marketplace with me, Emmanuel Aboagye-Wiafe. Coming up today, Ghana Tourism Authority works out stimulus package for players in the hospitality industry. We get a response from the Hotels Association. Also in the bulletin, African countries projected to lose over $110 billion in taxes, petroleum receipts and contracts due to COVID-19 outbreak. And indigenous carrier Africa World Airlines to cut down on local flights by 20%, while regional flights go down by 45%, as the airline says government's travel restrictions will reduce passenger numbers. We have details of all these headline stories plus more in this edition of The Marketplace. Don't go away. Many thanks for making a date with me today on The Marketplace. Welcome back. Now, the Trump administration is pressing for enactment of $1 trillion stimulus package, possibly to include $1,000 direct payments to individual Americans to minimize the economic pain from the coronavirus outbreak that has already killed over 100 people in the country. The administration is also advocating $50 billion for hard-hit airlines facing bankruptcy. Here in Ghana, the Tourism Authority says it is working on a stimulus package for some of the players within the hospitality industry. This follows some shocks and revenue losses that hit some of the players in this space as a result of the coronavirus. Chief Executive of the Ghana Tourism Authority, Aboagye-Wiafe, has been speaking with George-Wiafe.
Hoteliers, airlines, tour operators, and everybody is telling us the impact that they are facing in their subsector, if I should put it that way. And what we are trying to do with the data is to put it together and then present it to the Ministry of Finance, central government, on ways that we can mitigate. But so far the situation looks pretty bad. I mean, we've had load factors on airlines dropping to beyond below 40%. It used to be 60, 70. Hotels are telling us that the occupancy is dropping from around 65 to 70 to 20% and all that. That really much is what is happening. And it's not the first time such things happen. When Ebola happened, when SARS, when there was the Iraqi war, the industry is a very sensitive industry, and as much as anything globally happens, it affects us. And so we have seen it, and we believe that once we get the data, we'll make a case with recommendations to central government. How do we mitigate? How can we support? We are pretty much sure that we will be able to get this.
What form would this support be? Is it form of release or what, in terms of to help these operators in the hospitality industry?
I think it will be a hybrid. In some cases, probably those are not things that we can promise, but we can make recommendations to the relevant authorities. But like, for example, airlines are telling us they pay parking fees at the airport. When you land and you are on the tarmac, as long as you're there, you pay. So if in this crisis situation, if they are not able to get the numbers, is it something that can be waived? On our own, we've seen, for example, hotels asking for support in procuring sanitizers and some of the gadgets that they need to help fight this. So we will look at a broader look at everything that can be done and then make the recommendations to the relevant things. But so far, I think the engagement has gone on very well. The operators are following the protocols that were put in place, the measures that we have announced, the directives. It's for us to now also follow suit with listening to them, taking on board their feedback and how we can work to mitigate.
Well, so what form of assistance are hoteliers expecting from such a stimulus package by government, and how would it make an impact on their businesses? Joining me now for a conversation is President of the Ghana Hotels Association, Dr. Edward Nyamika Jr. Doc, you're welcome to the marketplace.
Thank you.
All right. Now, first tell me, how bad has this pandemic hit your outfit?
Emmanuel, if I knew I was coming to the studio today, I would have worn black shirt.
Wow.
Yes, just to show how serious the situation is. it has the potential to put a lot of hoteliers out of business.
Really?
It has the potential to collapse businesses.
Can you explain to me why?
You see, the hotels thrive on occupancy. We thrive on guests coming from outside and inside as well to lodge at their place, so charge them room rates. And then they also eat food, they drink, and for some recreational purposes too, they use your spa, your swimming pool, and so on. Now, so when these guests are cut off, then the oxygen that feeds the business is also truncated. And without oxygen, you're doomed.
And would you say the numbers have dwindled, I mean, since the outbreak of this pandemic? How
You see,
is it?
we are talking about, I know the GTA boss mentioned reduction from, say, 69% by 20% or so. The truth is that, as we sit here, the information here, I have it here. The information I have here is that in April, for instance, the occupancy is going to range between 2% and 12%. Occupancy, between 2% and 12%.
And 12%.
So that means that if you have, say, a 200-room hotel, that means that you're going to have 2% of that 200 occupying your hotel.
Yes, woefully low.
Woefully. In fact, how do you survive? Okay, so it's a very serious situation, and the earlier the government comes in to provide this stimulus package that the GTA boss was talking about, the better.
That brings me to that stimulus package. I mean, if really you are facing this, I mean, occupancy problem, how would a stimulus package, bring you up?
Well, we are being very optimistic here that the virus spread will be dealt with. Hopefully, in a month, in the 2 months or 3 months. Okay, so it's about helping the industry to survive this period. It's all about surviving the period, so that when things come back to normal, then we go on business as usual. But this period is the most crucial period, where first of all you are having to possibly lay off staff because you can't pay them. Where are you going to get the money to pay them? You can't also afford electricity. You can't afford water, because much as the disease is all around the place, we are still going to have a few people wanting to use the hotels. Okay, so it's not a matter of saying close all hotels down. No, it can't happen.
Is there no way to diversify? I mean, don't you make other forms of incomes from, other areas?
You see, that's the interesting thing, because all the various areas which hotels can easily think of have been cut off.
Restrictions here.
Exactly, because first of all, visitors are not coming in. Secondly, gatherings have been really has been curtailed. So those who organize their weddings and want to come and have their wedding reception at your point is not happening. The events are also not happening. Food, you are not selling food. So, you see, all the areas, maybe some of the hotels can look at delivering food services to people outside. Okay?
Just to keep their heads above water.
Just to keep their heads above water. But that'll be just one small portion of the inflows needed to keep a place like a big hotel going. And even the small hotels as well.
That's very serious.
It is extremely serious.
So moving forward, how do you, or what do you hope to do so that
you see, like I said, it's all about surviving the difficult times, okay, the difficult period. So it's about providing some incentives. And we are saying that if you look at, say, VAT, come this month ending, hotels will be chased for their value-added tax for February. Okay? They will also be chased for Environmental Protection Agency license fees, Food and Drugs Authority license fees. All those fees will come chasing you. Okay, we are also talking about electricity. Is it possible that a directive could be given? Can we suspend payment of VAT for now?
Maybe this is a good time to press home that demand because of this coronavirus.
That's exactly what I'm doing. Can we suspend, say, payment of VAT for this period?
Okay, so that
can we reduce the electricity and water rates? Okay. Can we reduce it? Can we also suspend this payment of 1% tourism levy, payment of this EPA license? Can we suspend some of these things? Okay, well, we know that the government itself will also go through challenging times, as we are all going through. They will. Okay, so liquidity will become a problem. So we are not really asking for pumping money into the hotels per se, even though that is also an option to provide some interest-free loans to them to survive the period.
Okay. So I want to ask, so should government come out to say now it's extending 50 billion CD, stimulus package? What exactly are you going to do now? Because whether you like it or not, the coronavirus is still in place.
For me and for the association, one of the biggest challenges we are facing now, which is even so hurting, is our workers. What are we going to do with our workers? What are we going to do with all those direct and indirect employees that we have? Is it possible that that kind of support could at least hold these workers for that period? Okay, so that the hotel doesn't have to pay for those salaries, but government steps in and say, okay, let me look at the figures here. Let me support the hotels to pay the salary. We are in challenging times, so we don't have to ask for 100% salary, but maybe a certain percentage that will keep body and soul together. That's one area. And then we could also use that to fund some of the activities. Because, you see, the thing is that the occupancy brings in money to fund other activities of the hotel. So when the basic inflow is not coming, even this food thing that I said, they could cook it and sell it to external, where's the money to do that? So that kind of money could help to promote. So
now, I believe you operate hand in hand also with the tourism sector. How bad has it also hit the tourism sector?
Well, you see, the tourism, and that is why I think I was very happy when the president started promoting domestic tourism, because a huge chunk of our tourism revenues comes from outside. Okay. So now that is cut off. So they are also in the woods like we are. Okay, so and once they are also affected, we are also off.
Worst case scenario, if this should go into 6 months and get into 8 months, the coronavirus is still not contained.
That's scary.
What is going to happen?
I can tell you, because even as we speak, I got a message from one of our members. They are planning to shut down from this month ending. They are projecting, say, up to June. Hopefully, when the situation is settled, then they can resume. But even there, it's a projection. If things do not get better by that June, I don't want to even think about the 6 months and 8 months shutdown, because that is very scary.
That would be scary.
Yeah, so we are praying that the researchers and whoever, the WHO, our government, will find some solution to this problem. But let me also say that, we have two sides of the issue now: the prevention and, of course, the impact on our business. And the hotels are doing very well in looking at all those precautionary measures that have been put in place to curtail the spread. But like the boss said, we also need some of the items to be available, because now it's becoming a challenge even getting hand sanitizers. Exactly. So
all right. Thank you very much, Dr. Aka Nyamike Jr. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you for your thoughts. And that was the president of the Ghana Hotels Association, Dr. Edward Aka Nyamike Jr. has been painting a gloomy picture of the impact of the corona outbreak on hotel businesses in the country. Away from that, African countries expect to lose more than $110 billion over the next 3 months as a result of the outbreak of the deadly coronavirus. According to the African Energy Chamber, the situation will impact significantly on local producers and government taxes from the oil and gas sector. The South African-based Energy Chamber is therefore urging oil-producing countries on the continent to grant some tax waivers to exploration companies to help them revive their operations. There's more in this report. The African Energy Chamber is urging African countries engaged in petroleum operations and other local service companies to find ways to relieve the burden on exploration programs and local companies. At present, Africa stands to lose over $110 billion in taxes, petroleum exports, jobs and contracts to local companies over the next 3 months. The Chamber says extensions are needed to ensure these companies maintain success in the short term, while calling on OPEC member states to immediately engage with the leaders of Saudi Arabia and Russia to ensure that oil markets are not oversupplied. It also asks African governments to consider imposing immediate cancellations or postponements of tax payments for a period of up to 3 months as a possible solution to these growing issues. This, the African Energy Chamber believes, will help employers pay employees and improve their liquidity and also reduce some of the losses in revenue while preventing job losses. Should the current price war continue, many marginal field producers will likely go out of business, exploration programs will be halted, licensing rounds will fail, and the oil majors will have to make difficult decisions to scale back operations. The Chamber of Pharmacy Businesses has disclosed that government will raise a 500 million Ghana cedi bond to settle the huge outstanding NHIE debt. It's expected the issue of the bond should be done by Friday. Odilia Ntiamo has been following the development in the pharmaceutical sector and says pharmaceutical companies have only 3 months' supply of drugs. She spoke with the CEO of the Chamber of Pharmacy Business, Anthony Ameka.
Currently, I must say that we have contract with the service providers. The service providers also have contract with NHIE. What we want is for the service providers to pay for the supplies. So Ministry of Finance is going to raise bond that is going to pay for the outstanding NHIE claims. Then they will also make sure that they pay on a monthly basis to the tune of almost 70 million Ghana cedi to the service providers every month.
Is this going to happen soon? And if there should be, this thing should move from the infection stage to a real outbreak and a serious level, how is the management going to be like from you as a chamber, from that perspective, you sitting there representing the pharmaceutical sector? How prepared are we as a country?
Yeah, currently the pharmaceutical sector is ready, and we are confident of supplying any form of medicine for treatment when you get to the treatment stage. That's not a problem at all. It's not a problem. We don't need to import those finished products. What we have, we'll be able to take care of the system for now. Yeah. But the government is also going to procure things like ventilators to other hospitals when we get to that stage.
Now to aviation. An indigenous carrier, Africa World Airlines, says it is cutting down on local flights by 20%, while regional flights are to go down by 45%, as government's travel restrictions will reduce passenger numbers. The travel restriction, which came into force a few days ago, bars the entry of non-Ghanaian citizens from endemic regions from entering into Ghana's jurisdiction. Speaking to Joy Business, Chief Operations Officer of Africa World Airlines, Sean Mendes, said despite the setbacks, the company is poised to manage the financial shock and will not be laying off workers.
There has been an impact on the number of passengers who are traveling in recent days. The travel advisory that the government of Ghana has put out, which effectively bans non-essential travel to Ghana effective 1300 hours today, is already showing an impact on some of the regional routes. We have trimmed some of our capacity on regional routes by about 45% and on domestic routes by about 20%. But we'd also realize that as an airline operator, we have a responsibility to the communities that we serve to maintain a level of essential service. So we're going to maintain service to all of our destinations for now, and we're continuing to maintain that as long as it is feasible to do so.
Okay. So with this trim that we are seeing, 20% and 45%, that's pretty huge. How is this also impacting your revenues, your financials?
Well, certainly the revenues are taking a hit, but of course when you're not flying these flights as well, there is a savings on the cost side as well. We're fortunate with Africa World Airlines that we're well positioned to be able to ride this out. So at this time, we're not looking at layoffs or anything else. We are confident enough that the measures we are taking, both operationally as well as financially, to conserve our resources and to optimally deploy them for the benefit of our staff, for the benefit of our passengers, for the benefit of the consumers and the traveling public in general, will ensure that when you fly with AWA, you can fly safe and fly confident.
Okay. Now, amidst all these issues, you've seen a number of airlines, for instance, SAS, is laying off about 90% of its staff. It cuts across. Lots of airlines are laying off staff. Some are sending them home. Are we seeing a similar thing here?
At this time, Africa World Airlines believes that we are poised properly to be able to ride out this crisis. We have a plan and we're implementing this plan. We don't anticipate at this time to need to go into layoffs or similar, but we are encouraging staff with outstanding leave balances or so forth to claim their leave right now. Non-essential, non-operational staff are already on work from home and have been for a while. We have implemented protocols for our staff in operational roles at the airport, on the aircraft. They are all engaging in mandatory disinfection of hands. They are wearing face masks. They're wearing gloves if they're in customer contact. And all of this is being done for the safety of our staff as well as the safety of our passengers to prevent cross-contamination. If your passport, for example, may have been on a surface that is contaminated, it's essential that when you handle it and our staff handle it, that any contamination is not passed across. And so we're using gloves and sanitizers and things like that to ensure that we're doing everything we can that for those people who have to travel during these times, and there are people who have essential jobs who do need to travel, that they are traveling safely, and they should be confident that when they fly with AWA that they are able to travel safely.
And in a related development, air cargo volumes at the Kotoka International Airport has witnessed a dip in the wake of the coronavirus outbreak. This was revealed by cargo operators Swissport and Aviance when the Minister for Aviation, Kofi Adda, inspected facilities to ascertain preparedness of cargo handling in the wake of the viral outbreak. Some cargo operators say although cargo volumes had dwindled from the beginning of the year, the recent travel restrictions have worsened the situation. Chris Gusse is the country manager for Swissport.
The travel restriction that was introduced by government basically limited non-Ghanaian citizens who are coming from endemic regions from coming into the Ghanaian jurisdiction. But today we are here at the cargo side at the airport to find out what also is happening in terms of cargo and goods coming from any of these areas into the country.
We have positioned temperature readers, so everyone walking into the warehouse, there is only one entrance. They will have their temperature checked every time that they come into the warehouse. There will also be security searched in line with the national security protocols. Our staff and relative employees at the ramp have been issued with masks, effective PPEs, gloves. We have cleaners on station cleaning all surfaces every couple of minutes as well. Certain doors have been opened with security present as well so that no one touches the door handles, because that is another way of showing and transmitting the COVID-19. From an operational perspective,
and on that note, we wrap up this afternoon's edition of The Marketplace. Many thanks for watching. My name is Aboagye-Wiafe. There's more news, of course, business, when you log on to myjoyonline.com/business. Have a good afternoon.